What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, I'm Lo, and my husband and I are working on getting our financial life together. I make lots of videos here on my channel talking about my family's personal finance journey, and I just wanted to share with you guys some things that we have done right, because we have done a lot of things wrong, and I've talked a lot about our money mistakes, such as racking up $30,000 in credit card debt, but we have also done a lot of things right over the years, even before we started our debt-free journey. So in today's video, I want to talk to you about some of the things that we have done right that I am proud of, and some things that I would recommend you guys do if you are trying to figure out where to start with improving your financial picture. Because when you are in a bad place financially, it's really hard to get started, especially when you feel like you have no idea what to do. You don't know anything about finance, you don't know anything about investing, you don't know anything about budgeting. You're just kind of like, I have debt and I don't know what to do. Every month I get paid and then it all goes out to bills. I have nothing left over and I can't figure out how to improve the situation. So in today's video, I'm going to tell you 9 things that we did right in our financial journey that got us to where we are today. So the first thing that we did right is we have always contributed up to the employer match with our 401k. This is something that I think we did right, but if you listen to Dave Ramsey, and a lot of people do, he says don't contribute anything to retirement until you've paid off all your debt. But to me, I just don't think that's smart to leave the employer match on the table, because when you have a 401k through your employer and they match up to a certain percent, that means if you put in 3% of your paycheck, they will match that dollar for dollar. So it's free money. So we have always contributed up to the employer match anytime that was available. Even at points where we were barely getting by for the month, we were contributing to retirement accounts up to the employer match. The second thing that we have done right is we started investing for retirement when we turned 30. So the earlier you start putting money away for retirement, the less you need to put away over time to get to your target retirement number because of compound interest. When you put money into a retirement account, it should be invested in the stock market, which is less complicated than it sounds, and I'll talk about that in one second. But when you put money into a retirement account, if you do it early and you do it often, that money grows more over time. So I read the Tony Robbins book, Mastering the Game of Money, when I was 29 years old, and I learned about retirement accounts. I'd known some before from what I learned from like my parents and like a little bit hearing stuff here and there, but I really didn't know much. And that book really clarified some things for me as to where to open a retirement account and how to do it. So I opened a Roth IRA with Vanguard. A Roth IRA is an account where you just put after-tax money. So after you get paid, you just take some of the money you got paid and you put it into this retirement account, and it grows tax-free. And then when you retire, you can take it out without paying any income tax. So you can actually take it out before you retire, but I don't want to get into all the details. But if you're new to investing and you're looking for a way to start saving for retirement, a Roth IRA is a great place to start. There are contribution limits and income limits. For 2021, you're only allowed to contribute $6,000 to a Roth IRA. But if you're just starting out, contributing more than $6,000 probably isn't a concern for you. And there is an income limit, so check that, but it's pretty high. So yeah, when I turned 30, around when I turned 30, I started contributing to a Roth IRA, and honestly, our money was so tight. We had so much debt, and we had 2 car payments, and we were trying to like maybe buy a house, and we had student loans and everything, and I was just like, I feel like we need to start this, but I don't really have a lot of money to do it. So what I did is I set it up so I contributed $100 a month, and for a long time I contributed $100 a month to a Roth IRA, and that's how I started. And I opened mine with Vanguard. Looking back, Vanguard is good, but it's a little bit of a complicated platform to use for somebody who's just starting out. Now, if I were doing it, I have just started investing in M1 Finance, and they have a much easier platform, and it's easier to figure out how to invest your money because it's a little more user-friendly. They give you suggestions through these pies of how to invest. But anyway, Vanguard is great. I still have my Roth IRA there, It's just a little more intimidating of a website, but it's a great place to start, and I would recommend going to Vanguard, or you could go to M1 Finance and open a Roth IRA. If you want to do it through M1 Finance, I do have a link in the description of my video, and if you invest $100 with M1 within the first 2 weeks of opening your account, then you get $30 and I get $30, so it's a win-win for us. So I have some money in M1 Finance and I also have money in Vanguard, and yeah, that is how I started out doing my retirement investments, and then over time I increased that to like $125 a month, and then $150, and then I stopped for a little bit when we started working on our debt pay down really, you know, aggressively. And then actually for 2021, I, for the first time, maxed out my Roth IRAs. So I am super proud of that. And now, as of today, I am just turned 34. So it's been 4 years of investing in this IRA, and I have just over $12,000 in that account. So it took a long time to get up to that amount. And it's, you know, part of me thinks, oh, that's not that much money, but like I am in my mid-30s, and when I retire in 30 years, that account has a lot of time to grow and a lot of time for additional contributions. And the fact that I'm starting now is much better than if I start in 5 or 10 or 15 years. That is something I did right, is opening a Roth IRA early on. And honestly, it doesn't even matter how much you put in, it's just the fact of practicing investing that is a good thing. Just the simple fact of getting used to putting money into savings or retirement every single month, like building that muscle, is really, really important, because the more you get used to it, the more it becomes part of your routine and becomes natural and becomes like something that you automatically do rather than something you have to like figure out to make room for. So speaking of that, the next thing that I did right was I started investing in a brokerage account as well. I actually, it's kind of a funny story. I used to smoke cigarettes for quite a number of years, and I really wanted to quit. And so when I quit, I decided that I was gonna take all my cigarette money and put it into a savings account to buy myself a very nice present when I had enough money to do so, as incentive to continue to not smoke. So I opened up an Acorns account, and that is just, you know, through an app on my phone. I opened up an Acorns account. You guys may have heard of Acorns. It's also an investing platform, and you just put money in. They can do roundups, so every time you charge your card, like it rounds it up to the nearest dollar. I didn't really like doing that because I didn't want to like not know how much money was coming out of my account into Acorns. But for me, every week or every like period of time where I would have bought a pack of cigarettes, I put $10 into my Acorns account. And Acorns is also an investment account. It's even simpler than Vanguard or M1 Finance. And that's really what I liked about it, is because you didn't even have to pick like funds or pies or like stocks, anything at all. There was just different settings. You could do low risk, high risk, and then there's a few in between, moderate and like high moderate, low moderate, I forget what they call them, but there's a few settings, and you can decide how aggressive you want the investments to be, but it's just settings, and then it just invests it for you in a predetermined thing. So you're not having to pick anything except for how aggressive you want to be, and it gives you a recommendation based on your age and your goals as to which setting is best. So I opened an Acorns account, and every time I would have bought a pack of cigarettes, I put $10 into my Acorns account, and that account grew to $2,000 over the course of like 2 or 3 years. And you know, it was slow growth because I was only putting in a little bit at a time, but it got me in the habit of saving, and it got me in the habit of investing, and it got me to learn a little bit more about investing in the stock market and see how the account went up and down, but then went back up again. And it was just a really good experience, and the app was so easy to use. Like, it was a great first step into the investing world. So that wasn't a retirement account or anything that I opened. It was just like a regular brokerage account, like just an account where it's, you know, you can take money in and out whenever you want to. And I did. I put money in. It ended up growing a little bit over time. And then eventually I took it out and I bought myself, you guys might cringe when you hear this, but I bought myself a Louis Vuitton handbag. And that was my goal, that if I could quit smoking, I would buy myself a Louis Vuitton purse. And that's what I did with that money. So now that account has very little in it, and I may start putting money in there again. But yeah, ever since I bought the Louis Vuitton, I kind of have just let the money sit there. But yeah, if you guys want to try Acorns and you want like the simplest option to get into investing, I think this is the simplest one I found. This is where I started, and this is one thing I did right that got me, used to putting money aside. Just again, building that muscle memory, building that habit. So I do have a link also for Acorns in the description below. If you sign up for Acorns through my link, you get $5 and I get $5. So it's not as good as the M1 Finance $30 referral, but Acorns again is simpler if you really want something very, very simple. So my link is in the description if you want to check out that. The next thing we did right is we bought under budget for our house. So based on our income, despite all the debt we had, when we went to get qualified for a mortgage, our mortgage broker told us that we could qualify for a $420,000 mortgage. And, you know, based on our numbers, it said that we could afford that. But based on what we felt, we didn't think that that made sense based on all of the debt we had and just thinking of what our rent was currently to what it was going to go to with the mortgage. That just felt like too much for us. So we bought under budget. We qualified for $420,000 and we bought a house for $340,000. So it is quite a bit less than we could have, you know, used to purchase our home. And honestly, I'm so glad we did, because our house is wonderful and beautiful and comfortable, and we don't need more house than this. We don't need anything different than this. And like, if we had spent more, our mortgage would just be more and we wouldn't really be getting that value out of it. And especially when we had all this other debt, it was really smart of us to spend less than we qualified for. So if you can find a house that's less than the mortgage qualification says you can afford, then I'd highly recommend it. I know it's really hard in today's market because the housing market's crazy if you're in the market to buy. But yeah, that's what I would recommend if it's possible. The next smart thing that we have done to get our financial life in order is stopped using credit cards. Now, when we started our debt-free journey at the beginning of 2020, we decided we were going to stop using credit cards. So we took all of our credit card debt and we basically refinanced it into a personal loan. So our credit card balances were down to zero and we stopped using our credit cards, and then we just worked on paying down that one personal loan. Now, if you don't have self-control and you don't trust yourself to not then go use the credit cards in additional to having the personal loan, then I wouldn't recommend this. But if you are dedicated, you're ready to stop using credit cards, then I highly recommend this, because we were able to lower our interest rate and pay off our credit card debt faster, and it just cleaned it all up. We had all these credit cards, we, you know, swooped them all up, put it into this personal loan. I think there was a little bit of a balance left on like a couple of them that we knew we could pay off within a month or so. But other than that, it was all into a loan, a $30,000 loan, and we stopped using credit cards and we just paid off the loan. When we did our credit card refinance with a personal loan, we did it with SoFi. So I know I'm giving you guys a lot of links in this video, but these are all things that I use and like and wish I would have had a referral link for when I started it, because it would have been free money. So I'm just telling you these resources. You don't feel any pressure to try any of these things just because I'm telling you about them. But if you're interested, you know, you can check out the links. But for SoFi, if you refinance your debt and you use my link, then you get a $300 credit towards your debt. So that's what we did. We used SoFi. We refinanced our credit card debt into a $30,000 loan that was a 7-year loan, I think, and we paid it off in like less than a year. So that was a really smart decision that we made. Since then, we have not used credit cards. I do have a credit card still, and I use it on occasion for like online purchases because I don't like using my debit card online, but I use it and then I make a payment immediately and pay it off. And so it never carries a balance. I haven't paid $1 in interest towards my credit card company since we stopped using credit cards at the end of 2019. And I don't think we'll ever use credit cards again, because now we've built up like a $20,000 emergency fund over the course of the last year too, year and a half. And so we didn't have that before either. And so, you know, now that alleviates the need for credit cards because we've built up an emergency fund. And the emergency fund didn't start at $20,000. It took a long time to build it up to that. But over time, slowly, we did build it up, and we haven't used credit cards. And so we probably won't ever use them again. If I have my way about it, we'll never use credit cards again. All right, the next thing that my husband and I have done right is we have always budgeted. Now, we haven't always done a good job with budgeting, and we haven't always had a budget like format that worked and made sense for both of us, but we never gave up on it. We kept trying, and for years and years and years our budget wasn't working, or I didn't understand how my husband was thinking about it, or he didn't understand how I was thinking about it, or we weren't allocating our money in the right way and we were putting too much towards one thing or not enough towards another thing. But we never gave up on it. And eventually, as recently as August of last year, we finally figured out a budgeting system that's really working for us, that my husband and I both understand, that, you know, works well. But that was 7 years into our marriage, and we were budgeting the whole way along. So it was smart of us to start somewhere, even though it wasn't working, and keep trying and trying and trying, because budgeting is hard and complicated. And especially if you share your money and like you're married, or you share your money with a partner and you budget together, like you each have different ways of learning and understanding and organizing numbers and money in your head, and finding a way that makes sense for both of you takes time, especially if you're not similar in the way that you think. Like my husband and I, we are just not similar. He's like very artistic and like creative, and I am very like organized and structured, and just it wasn't working. We weren't meshing in the way we're thinking about it, but we kept trying, and that was a smart decision, because now we have a budgeting system that works. We stay on budget almost every single month. Like our categories work, our system works, and I'm so glad we didn't give up, because now we have something that's working, and it gives us the freedom and the peace of mind that we know we're putting our money intentionally where we want it and making the best use of it. The next thing that we've done right over the past couple years, we didn't used to do so good on, but we've gotten a lot better on and actually do really well on now, is not give in to lifestyle creep. So what that means is, as you get raises or bonuses or extra money or move jobs and, you know, get a higher pay, if you want to improve your finances, the best way to do it is to live like you're still making the money that you made before you got those increases. So when we get a raise or we get a bonus or anything, we don't use that money to increase our budget for our spending or our fun stuff. We put that money towards our financial goals, and we still live off the same base amount that we were making before the raise or the bonus. And that has been a huge game changer, because for a long time we were like splitting it, like, oh, you know, I'll take half of this and use it towards shopping, and then the other half I'll put towards savings or debt. And that's fine, and you can do it that way if you know, don't have a lot of debt like us, or you're pretty good otherwise in your finances. But for us personally, our net worth was in like the -6 digits, and we needed to make big changes quick if we were going to turn things around. So every single dollar that we got after a certain point, we started putting towards financial goals, whether it be debt, savings, or retirement. And that's it. So, you know, I get money for my birthday, it goes towards our financial goals. We get a bonus, it goes towards our financial goals. Like any extra money that comes in, we get a refund from insurance, it goes towards financial goals. Like I get a certain amount of spending money every month, and so does my husband. And so if extra money comes in, that doesn't mean we get an increase in our spending money. We've already agreed upon how much we get to spend that month. So that extra money that comes in, we use towards financial goals, and that's it. The next smart money decision that we have made is we've always taken advantage of a pre-tax medical account. So over the years, I've been eligible for an FSA, which is a flex spending account through my employer. And what that means is they take a certain amount of money out of my paycheck every month, and it goes into this flex spending account. And then I have a debit card for it. And when I have medical expenses, I just swipe the debit card and it pays for it. So I'm still paying for it, but it comes out of your paycheck pre-tax. So you're basically getting like around a 25% discount on every medical expense that you have, because you're not paying taxes on that money. We switched to an HSA recently because we had a high deductible health plan. It's like an FSA, but for an FSA, it's use it or lose it. So if you don't use the money by the end of the year, then you only get to roll a certain amount of it over. So I think we contributed a couple years ago $2,700, and then we were only allowed to roll over $500. So if you don't spend that other $2,200 in medical, then you lose it. But for us, we knew we have contacts, we go to the dentist, that alone ate up most of that. So we've always taken advantage of the flex spending account. We did an HSA for a short period of time when we had a high deductible health plan, because that's very similar to an FSA, but there isn't that use it or lose it provision. You get to, you know, keep whatever you don't use. So I liked that about it. Now we no longer have a high deductible health plan, so we're going back to the FSA next year when we do our election next time that I can sign up for it. But using any pre-tax medical options that you have, you're gonna have those medical expenses anyway. If you don't have high medical expenses, then look at what you spent in the last year or so for medical and just estimate what you think you're gonna need. and at least elect something through those, because it's like free money because you're gonna pay those expenses anyway. So that's something smart that we've always done, and I'm glad we did. And the last good financial decision that we have made is we started our debt-free journey. So for a long time, our debts were just growing because we were on income-based repayment for our student loans, and we were putting things on credit cards, and we each bought a new car, and so every single month our debt would grow and grow and grow because the minimum payments that we were making weren't covering the interest, let alone digging into any principal on most of our debts. And that was an awful feeling, but we kept just spending money and taking on more debt, and it was really hard to get started. But eventually we made the decision. We were like, enough's enough. It really, you know, everything hit the fan when my daughter was born, and I was like, I don't like not having any money in savings with having a newborn. Like, that doesn't feel good. And so after my daughter was born, we decided enough's enough. We are going to start getting our finances in order. And it started slow, and it started complicated, and we made mistakes along the way, and we haven't been perfect, but I am so glad that we started, because if you start, you will be better off tomorrow or next week or next year than you were if you never started. So that is the biggest thing that we did right, I think, in recent years, and that is started our debt-free journey and started getting more serious about our finances. Because honestly, I feel like I get to do all the things I used to. I get to buy clothes, I get to like do fun things with my family, I get to do everything that I did before, but it costs way less because we are being more intentional with our money. And when I buy something, I don't feel guilty about it anymore because it's not just going on a credit card to deal with later. I know where the money's coming from, I know it's budgeted, and I know I'm staying within budget, so I enjoy getting to purchase things that I used to feel guilty about. So even though I spend way less money, I feel so much better about it, and I enjoy the things I have a lot more, and it's wonderful. So that is my number one thing that I think we've done right, and that is just start working on improving your finances, rededicate to it, do it over and over and over until it sticks, and eventually it will stick and you will be able to improve your financial situation just like we did. So that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing about all the things we did right. I feel like we've done a lot wrong over the years, but I think it's important to celebrate the wins as well and focus on all the things that we have done right and learned and improved on over the years. So I'm really glad that I could do this video for you guys today. Do you guys have any things that you've done right in your personal finance journey that I haven't? Comment below and let me know. I'd love to hear what you guys are doing right. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. And if you want to follow along on our personal finance journey, then hit the subscribe button. I'd love to have you as a subscriber, and I'll see you guys soon in my next video. Bye.